Amanda's hands were covered in blood. She could not remember the last time the operating room had felt so cold. The overhead lights buzzed, the heart monitor beeped, and her mind raced. The patient on the table had suffered a terrible accident. His body was broken, his pulse weak. Nurses moved around her with urgent steps, preparing more gauze, adjusting the four. Amanda's breath caught in her throat when she glimpsed the man's face. She froze for a split second, something she had never done in her entire career as a trauma surgeon. Her heart lurched with a familiar sting, a memory that rocked her entire being. She had been trained to handle chaos. She had treated victims in the aftermath of fires, explosions, and mass accidents. Never once had she doubted her own ability. But tonight, in the middle of this frantic scene, she felt her composure slip. The adrenaline pounding through her veins could not compare to the shock of recognizing the person she had once loved beyond measure. "Dr. Amanda? Are you okay?" a nurse asked, her voice trembling with concern. Amanda could only nod in silence. She pressed her gloved hands on the patient's abdomen to control the bleeding. Time slowed as she studied the man's face, the lines around his eyes, the scar on his left temple. She remembered that scar. He had gotten it falling off a skateboard, trying to impress her during their college years. There was no doubt. The man lying on the table, fighting for his life, was John Cole. His face was pale, his breath shallow. Amanda heard a faint rattle in his chest as she tried to stabilize him. Alarms blared around her, and a part of her wanted to scream. She realized in that instant that her world was about to change again. No matter how many years had passed, no matter what she had tried to bury in her heart, John was here. And it terrified her more than any surgery she had ever done. 10 years ago, Amanda had been a third-year medical student at Columbia. She was determined to become a doctor who could save lives, partly because of her younger brother, Tyler, who needed her. Their parents had passed away when Tyler was still in high school, so Amanda became both sister and guardian. She took on extra shifts to pay for his education. She slept very little and studied whenever she got a free moment. During that time, John was an ambitious business major in the same city. They met at a campus fundraising event for the local children's hospital. He was charming and smart, known for his quick sense of humor and innovative ideas. Amanda was too busy to notice him at first, but John persisted, offering to help organize a charity drive and even volunteering to tutor her in finance basics so she could handle family expenses better. They grew close, sharing late-night coffees, walks across the campus, and long talks about their hopes for the future. Amanda felt safe with him. For the first time since her parents' passing, she did not feel alone. She found support and love in John, and it was a warmth she had never known. But as her final year approached, Tyler's needs grew. He wanted to attend an engineering program in California, and money was tight. Amanda struggled with the decision: stay with John and risk not securing Tyler's future, or let John go, focus on her family, and dive into her career with single-minded devotion. In the end, Amanda broke John's heart. She told him she could not continue their relationship. She said her family and career came first, and that she needed to move on. John tried to convince her otherwise, but she refused. It was the most painful choice she had ever made. The memory of their last night together, his eyes brimming with tears, her trembling voice trying to stay firm, haunted her for years. Time had distanced Amanda from the pain of that moment. She had buried herself in her work at New York Presbyterian Hospital, eventually becoming a top trauma surgeon. She poured all her energy into saving people, and her brother, Tyler, had graduated with honors and was now a rising star in engineering. He owed much of his success to Amanda's sacrifices, but she never spoke of the cost to her own heart. Then tonight happened. Amanda stood there in the operating room, staring at the face of the only man she had truly loved. She felt torn apart. Memories collided with her sense of duty as she fought to save John's life. She and her team worked on him for hours, patching injuries, stopping internal bleeding, stabilizing vital signs. Somehow, through skill and luck, they pulled him back from the brink of death. By dawn, John was in the intensive care unit. The hospital was quieter at that early hour, But Amanda's mind was louder than ever. She gripped a cup of coffee outside his room, staring at him through the glass. He was hooked up to all kinds of machines, pale and still, but alive. She had done her job. She had saved a life. But in doing so, she had opened a door she was not sure she wanted to walk through. 2 days later, John woke up. Amanda was reviewing his chart at the nurse's station when she heard a commotion. She rushed to his room and found him groggy, trying to speak. His eyes locked on hers, confusion and recognition flickering in his gaze. "Amanda." His voice was raspy. She swallowed hard. "Yes, John. I'm here." He blinked, his mind clearly spinning. The emotion in his eyes was clear, even in his weakened state. "You saved me," he whispered. "Try to rest," she said, keeping her voice calm. "We need you to recover before asking too many questions." Despite her attempts to maintain professionalism, Amanda felt her heart twist. The memories of their past were too strong. She wanted to run away, but she also wanted to stay. This was not a simple patient-doctor relationship. John was part of her life story. She had once dreamed of a future with him. Over the next few days, they spoke only about his medical condition. She explained that he had been in a serious car crash, that his vehicle had rolled over twice, that he was lucky to be alive. She avoided all personal topics, and John did not press her, at least not at first. They kept their distance, surrounded by the hum of the hospital environment, people coming and going, trays clattering, monitors beeping. A week later, news spread through the hospital that a new partnership with a major tech company was on the horizon. This company was rumored to be investing millions of dollars into advanced trauma care. It aimed to develop a surgical robot that could assist doctors in critical operations, speeding up procedures and improving precision. Amanda heard excited whispers from her colleagues, and she found out that the investor behind this new technology was none other than John Cole. In a stunning twist, John had risen over the years to become a tech entrepreneur and venture capitalist. He was known for funding ambitious startups. Now his own company, Cole Tech, was collaborating with the hospital to introduce cutting-edge medical devices that could transform trauma surgery. Amanda felt a mixture of pride and anxiety. She wanted the best for her patients, and if this new technology helped save lives, she was all for it. But it also meant that John would be around even after he recovered. Their paths would cross frequently. Already, her emotions were in turmoil, and she had no idea how to handle it. John, still in a wheelchair for therapy, began attending meetings at the hospital once he was stable enough. Amanda watched from a distance as he spoke with hospital administrators, wearing a look of calm confidence. She noticed the limp in his step from the accident, the strain on his face when he thought no one was watching. Despite his success, he was not fully healed, and she was not sure how to heal their past. While the hospital buzzed with hope for the new technology, rumors of corporate sabotage started to surface. Some staff reported unusual system glitches in the hospital's intranet. Others noted that the prototypes of the surgical robot were not performing as expected during trials. Amanda overheard a conversation suggesting someone was tampering with data or hardware. If the sabotage succeeded, it could delay the launch of this life-saving tool. Tensions rose, and suspicions were high. Meanwhile, Tyler arrived in New York to visit Amanda. He had become a respected engineer working on energy solutions out west. He found Amanda in the hospital cafeteria, looking exhausted. When he sat down, he gave her a worried look. "You're barely sleeping," Tyler said. "What's going on?" She told him about John's accident and his involvement in the hospital's new project. Tyler listened in shock, asking how she felt. She shrugged, trying to hide her trembling hands. "I'm the one who walked away," she said softly. "I was afraid of losing my chance to take care of you, of letting our parents down. Now John is here, and I don't know what to do." Tyler frowned. "Amanda, I never asked you to give up your personal life for me. You did that on your own." She sighed, feeling guilt and regret. But there was no going back in time. She could only face the present. Tyler offered to look into the rumored sabotage. If it involved technology, his expertise might help. Amanda was reluctant to let him get too involved, but she trusted Tyler more than anyone. After all, She had sacrificed so much for him. It was only fair that he help her now. A few days later, John asked Amanda to meet him in a quiet hospital garden. He had left the wheelchair behind, but walked carefully with a cane. She joined him on a bench by a small fountain. The sound of water trickling over stones somehow made the moment feel more private. "You've done a great job on my recovery," John said. "Thank you." "It's my duty," she replied, forcing a slight smile. He looked at her with an intensity that made her heart pound. "It's more than that," he said. "I know you cared once. I still feel it when you look at me." She inhaled sharply. Memories of their college days played through her mind. Long walks in the park, shared dinners, nights of whispered dreams about the future. She wanted to deny it, but she could not lie to him or herself. "John, I had no choice," she said, her voice raw. "Tyler was so young, and there was no one else to help him. I had to focus on med school, on making sure we both survived. I convinced myself that pushing you away was the right thing to do." His eyes brimmed with sadness. "You don't have to push me away now." Silence fell between them. Amanda could feel her heart tearing open. She realized that her feelings for John had never truly gone away. She had simply locked them behind a wall of responsibility. Yet she also felt fear. Fear of repeating the mistakes of the past. Fear of risking her heart only to lose him again. While Amanda and John struggled with their reawakened feelings, Tyler began investigating the sabotage rumors. He discovered security breaches in the hospital's computer network. The files related to the new surgical robot had been tampered with, causing software errors and mechanical malfunctions. Tyler suspected a rival company was trying to ruin Colteca's reputation. He shared his findings with Amanda, who then told John. John grew worried. A failed launch could mean lives lost if the robot was never approved. He also worried about the hospital's trust. If the board decided the technology was unreliable, he would lose this chance to change the face of trauma care. "Who would do something like this?" Amanda asked. John shook his head, frustration evident. "I have a few competitors who want to see me fail. I started Coltec from nothing, and it has grown fast. Too fast, perhaps." Amanda placed a hand on his shoulder, feeling the closeness between them spark again. She wanted to do more than just comfort him. A wave of protectiveness washed over her, the same emotion she felt for her patients and for Tyler. But this was different. This was personal. Before they could discuss the sabotage further, a massive accident struck downtown Manhattan. A truck carrying construction supplies overturned, causing a chain of collisions. The hospital was flooded with critical patients in need of urgent care. Amanda and her team ran to the trauma bay, pulling on gloves and gowns, switching into emergency mode. Dozens of people required surgery. One of them had severe internal injuries that normal surgical tools struggled to address quickly. The doctors knew the new robot prototype could help, but it was not officially cleared for general use yet. Still, the situation was dire. Amanda did not want to see a life slip away when there was a solution. John arrived, limping into the operating suite with a laptop. He brought Tyler's updated software patch, which could bypass the sabotage code. If they succeeded, the robot could function as intended. But it was a huge risk. If anything went wrong, they would face massive legal and ethical troubles. Amanda knew time was against them. The patient's condition was deteriorating. She looked at John, saw the determination in his eyes, and nodded. "We do it," she said. "This patient cannot wait." Amanda and her team prepared the operating room. The air was tense, and every second counted. John stood by to guide the hospital's tech staff through Tyler's patch. Nurses and surgical residents stood by, ready to help. The robot, named SynOS URG, loomed near the table, gleaming with high-tech promise. Amanda began the procedure, controlling the robot through its interface. Its robotic arms moved precisely, guided by Amanda's expert inputs. She could feel her heart pounding. If the sabotage was not fully fixed, a glitch could ruin the surgery. But as the minutes passed, the machine performed smoothly, allowing Amanda to stop the bleeding faster than she ever could have by hand. The rest of the medical team watched in awe. People whispered about this groundbreaking technology, which was now working exactly as planned. Amanda realized how much time they were saving, how much more accurate each move was. For the first time in years, she felt genuine hope that her field could evolve in ways she had only dreamed about. Suddenly, a warning flashed on the computer screen. A software error threatened to freeze the system. John rushed to the control panel, inputting fresh code to keep the robot stable. Amanda held her breath, focusing on maintaining control. The error vanished, and the robot continued. In that split second, the entire room felt like it was on the edge of disaster. Then, relief swept over them as the final seal was made, the final suture completed. The patient's vital signs stabilized. The surgery was a success. Later that night, while the patient rested in the ICU, John and Amanda found Tyler in the hospital's computer lab. His face was lit by the screen's glow, lines of code scrolling in front of him. "I traced the sabotage," Tyler said, looking up. "There's a data trail that leads to a competitor known as Medicare. They have a small team on the inside, someone here at the hospital feeding them information." John's jaw tightened. "I had my suspicions about Medicare, but I didn't think they would go this far." Amanda felt angry and protective. "They almost cost a patient's life," she said. "We have to notify the board and the police." They collected all the evidence. Tyler presented logs showing repeated breaches. Amanda and John arranged a meeting with the hospital administrators first thing in the morning. The board was shocked, but with the proof in hand, they alerted law enforcement. An investigation led to the arrest of a hospital employee who had been bribed by Medicare to sabotage the project. The sabotage scandal went public, but thanks to Amanda's surgical success, Coltech emerged as an innovator that had saved a life under extreme conditions. The hospital administrators were more convinced than ever of SinoSurg's potential. Plans for further clinical trials moved forward at lightning speed. With the crisis averted, Amanda found herself alone in her small office. She stared at a family photo on her desk, her parents gone too soon. Tyler as a teenager, so full of promise. And herself smiling, before life had become so complicated. She thought about how much she had lost by letting John go, and how much she had gained by ensuring Tyler's future. Was there a way to have both love and duty? John stepped into the office, closing the door behind him. The tension that had been building for weeks was about to burst. She looked up at him, her hands shaking slightly. "Amanda," he began, his voice careful but full of emotion, "I never stopped loving you. Not when you left, not when I became successful, not even when I thought I would die in that crash." Tears pricked at her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I thought it was the right choice. I thought I could handle the pain. But seeing you again showed me how wrong I was to push you away without trying to find another path." He stepped closer. "You had to do what you thought was best for your family. I understand that. And I see how amazing a doctor you've become. But if there's a chance to make this work now, I want to try. I can't lose you again." Amanda stood, crossing the room to him. She rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "I want that too," she said, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I don't want to live with regret anymore." In the weeks that followed, Amanda and John began to rebuild their relationship. They moved slowly, balancing their demanding schedules. John still had physical therapy for his leg, and Amanda had back-to-back shifts in the trauma unit. But they made time for each other. Sometimes it was just a quick coffee in the hospital courtyard or a late-night takeout meal in Amanda's office. They rediscovered each other's sense of humor, shared hopes, and future plans. Tyler, in town for a bit longer to finalize software updates, smiled whenever he saw them together. He told Amanda one day, "I'm really happy for you. It's about time you let yourself have a life beyond saving people. You deserve to be happy." She hugged her brother, finally feeling like the pieces of her life were falling into place. The hospital staff also began to notice the change in Amanda, a new light in her eyes. She was still strict about her work, still a perfectionist who expected the best from everyone, but there was warmth behind her demands. Before the official launch of SinoSurg, The hospital planned a gala to celebrate the success of the technology and the upcoming clinical trials. John invited Amanda to attend as his partner. She was hesitant at first, not usually comfortable with grand events, but she agreed. The gala took place in a large ballroom in Midtown Manhattan. The hall was decorated with lights and sleek, futuristic panels showcasing Coltech's achievements. Doctors, nurses, and investors mingled in formal attire. Amanda wore a simple black dress, her hair pinned back neatly, while John dressed in a classic tuxedo. They looked every bit a power couple, turning heads as they arrived. Midway through the evening, the hospital's president gave a speech thanking John for his vision and generosity, praising Amanda's life-saving work. Then John stepped to the microphone. He cleared his throat, appearing uncharacteristically nervous. "I want to thank everyone here," he said, "for believing in this project. We set out to make a difference in trauma care, and we succeeded, but only with the help of many people. I owe a special thanks to Dr. Amanda Lynn, who not only saved my life, but also reminded me of why I started this journey in the first place." Amanda's cheeks warmed at his words. John continued, "I have spent years building a company that I hoped would help the medical field. But I realized recently that it's not enough to just build technology. We need people with passion and heart. People like Amanda." He paused, looking at her with soft eyes. "I can't imagine taking another step forward without her by my side. So, Amanda, would you come up here?" Her heart hammered. She walked to the stage, unsure of what John was planning. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. The crowd drew a collective breath. Amanda felt her knees go weak as John knelt down. It was a simple gesture, but it carried a lifetime of emotion. "Amanda," he said, opening the box to reveal a ring, "will you marry me?" Gasps filled the room. Amanda covered her mouth with her hands, tears springing to her eyes. Her mind raced through the years of sacrifice, the heartbreak, the nights she wished she could have changed the past. Now the man she had loved for so long was offering her not just forgiveness, but a future that they could share. She nodded, her voice trembling. "Yes," she whispered, and then said it again louder. "Yes." Cheers broke out around them. Cameras flashed, capturing the moment. John rose, slid the ring onto her finger, and pulled her into a kiss that made the entire room vanish. For a moment, it was just the two of them, caught in a promise that erased the pain of the past and welcomed the hope of tomorrow. Word of their engagement spread through the hospital. Nurses congratulated Amanda with hugs, and doctors teased John about how he had broken through her tough, professional shell. Tyler called to say he was proud and that he would return soon to celebrate. The board of directors approved an expanded partnership with Coltech, ensuring that the new surgical robots would continue to save lives across multiple departments. Amanda and John spent their days balancing the demands of their careers and their growing commitment to each other. When they finally had a quiet weekend, they took a small trip upstate, where the trees were just starting to change color. They wandered along the lakeshore, hand in hand, reflecting on how far they had come. "We've made it," Amanda said softly, looking at the sunlight dancing on the water. "It feels like it's been a long road, but here we are." John squeezed her hand. "There's still so much we can do together. And I don't just mean Coltech or the hospital. I mean all of it, our lives." She leaned against him, breathing in the crisp autumn air. She felt at peace, knowing that she had done right by her family, her patients, and herself. She had found a way to follow her dream while also sharing it with the person who mattered most. In that moment, everything felt right. The sacrifices, the heartbreak, the uncertainty, all had led them to this new beginning. As they stood by the lake, their hearts full of gratitude, Amanda whispered, "I love you." And John smiled, replying in a voice tinged with the sweet relief of a decade's worth of longing, "I've always loved you." They shared a kiss that promised a future bright with hope. Hand in hand, they walked back to the car, ready to head home. No more secrets. No more running away. Only a shared dream, shaped by love, guided by faith in each other, and strengthened by all they had overcome. They returned to the city, eager to build a life where they could save lives as doctor and innovator, but also share love as partners who had finally broken down the walls between them. In that simple truth, they found their happy ending. And it was only the start of a wonderful future together.